So if you have any questions or comments on any presentations that delivered this morning, please. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I have a question for Konno-san, who made a presentation in Akogi district. Actually, I looked at the record you produced. You said it weighs 3 kilograms, and I only had like a 15 minutes, so I couldn't really read everything. But I believe this will be a very valuable record. And those like me who doing research on the local area, I'm very grateful that you produced this record. My question is that actually I have two questions. One is that, as you mentioned in your presentation, so first question is that what was the background? I mean that who actually proposed to put together this record, how it started, and who came together. And in the process of compiling this record, who are those who gave you cooperation? And also, what kind of feedback did you receive throughout the process? Because when I looked at the record, I looked at the reference and thought that maybe you acknowledge the university or research institutes as your supporter or cooperator, um, cooperating bodies, but I didn't find any of those institutional partners. So I was very surprised at how you could put together such a detailed record without involving such academics. Thank you very much for your question. We have a local community called Akoji Sub-District Council, and there are 7 people who involved in that organization, and everyone became the member of the editorial team. So those 7 people took all the photos. Of course, there are some old photos which are provided by the relevant individuals, but 4 seasonal pictures that I mentioned are collected by the editorial team and taken by the editorial team, and also the academics were involved in analyzing the radiation. That's the only part.
And the people who are the residents of Akogi district, they were collaborating with us. So for the interviews, our chief of editor is in Tokyo, so we can't really ask as a person to travel all the way because before the earthquake, we were living in an area close by, so we can just had to like walk 15 minutes to have an interview. But so we actually went to Kanto area to ask the old lady who is over 100 years old. Then we are trying to correct all the records by interviewing. And actually, this is actually led by Mr. Kono, who is living in Shirakawa City at the moment, 80 years old. So all these people have collaborated, and together with all those collaborators, we were able to get all the information. So we are supported by all the collaborators. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments? There may be people who are participating online. Actually, there's one question from Ayagoto. So she has a question regarding this session. So the experience from overseas being transferred to Japan, or Japan's experience transferred to overseas, if there is any sort of mechanism or the approach that is considered, I would like to know. So about applying the experience overseas to Japan and applying the Japanese experience to overseas, So, Jean-Marc, can I ask this question to you, please? So, it is Jean-Marc. So, please, this will be consecutive translation. Thank you very much. There's a comment from Goto-san. So, from looking at the different cases, looking at the characteristics of the regions, and by having measurement, and this will promote self decision making, and I understand that. And so I think we need to organize our thinking and try to think about different issues and challenges, and try to think about what we can do. And also the collaboration between the residents and the experts is also important. Thank you very much. So in France, I think I had been making some investigation as well. And in France, there's an agency to control the nuclear power. And after the nuclear accidents, in case of Japan, they are thinking about how which they should deal with what is happening inside the nuclear power plants. So regarding offsite, they only think about the emergencies. But in France, I think they are thinking about how to deal with the long-term contamination, and that is what they are working on as an agency. So I think nationally, as an initiative, I think this is only France that is carrying out such initiatives, and they are utilizing what Japan has learned and is trying to utilize it in their system. So that is what is happening. Thank you very much. And from Misaki-san in Fukushima, there is some questions. So I grew up in Tokyo, and I am now a graduate student in Osaka. So I would like to ask a question to Ingel-san. So maybe I can ask her about this question later. So if a person is living in the urban area, then people tend to forget about how to live together with the nature. How can we utilize such a perspective when the government is making decisions? So, is there anything we can do in the in our situation, not just limited to the decision making in the emergency cases? So I would like to ask this question to Ingel-san, and after that words, I would like to give the answer in the website. So if you're interested, please look at the website later. So thank you.
I think towards the end of the presentation by Sami, I think there were three questions that you raised. So what if the food you've been eating suddenly turns to poisonous, and what if the landscape changed, and how can we protect our children? I think those are the three questions we continue to ask in Fukushima, and it is still an outstanding issues that we need to tackle. So we have a same way of thinking. Also, Kono-san, when he talked about Akogi, mentioned that with regard to the food products, we suffer from harmful reputations. For example, seafood and wild mountain vegetables, mushrooms. Also, right after the earthquake, the dairy farming uh, in the area was quite successful. However, after the earthquake, they had to evacuate. So they released their cattle, and there was a lot of cows in the town after they evacuated, and they became wild after several years, and those wild cows would eat the contaminated grass, and later they need to be killed, put down. So dairy cows or the cattle for meat, everything was killed. and we felt very sort of had to suffer from very complex feelings, actually very sad or very hard to describe. We really wanted to sort of spare their lives, and even if to be killed, it would have been nice if we could eat them with gratitude. But I think those are the three questions that only the local people could answer. So I just wanted to mention that. Thank you very much. Yesterday, I went to a bar in the hotel, and was I was went into a conversation. We had a conversation with one of the guest customers there, and he or she said that she had to flee with her pet, but there were some issues around that some pets and also the cattle that they had to leave behind. I think today Ministry of the Environment came out with a policy to allow people to take pets with them as they evacuate. But this is something that the people paid less attention before. But this is very important. But those who had to leave their animals behind suffer from a very deep psychological wound and trauma. So I think this we should not forget. Another, this is the from Goto Aya Goto. So what I feel about this entire dialogue is that where do we come from and where are we going? I think initially this question, the first part is about individuals, and but the second, the latter half, I think is about more about we. So any questions from the audience in this floor or in this venue?